Ladies and gentlemen, it is now 7:06. And on June 27th, we're gonna get started here. Can I get a roll call, please, for North Fair Oaks Community Council?
Commencing roll call now. Vice Chair George Salmon,
Here.
Councilmember Juan Carlos Prado, Councilmember Everardo Rodriguez.
Here.
Councilmember Niket Searcy, Councilmember Brooks Esser,
Here.
Councilmember Blair Whitney,
Here.
Councilmember Kelly Parisi, Councilmember Mariela Peralta, Chair Kathleen Daly. Thank you.
I think Mariella resigned.
We'll talk about that.
Okay.
Thank you. A brief announcement, we do have an interpreter joining us this evening. For those of you joining us in person, if you would like to listen to this meeting in Spanish, please use the headsets provided in the check-in table in the back. Francisco, would you like to provide these instructions in Spanish?
Hola, ¿cómo están? Buenas noches.
We're having a hard time hearing over here from that end of the table. Is there a microphone?
Oh, I'll use it, yeah.
Yeah, we'll put it up
After.
Bueno, buenas tardes, buenas noches, bienvenidos. Muchas gracias por estar aquí presentes. Habrá servicio de interpretación. Por favor, vengan y puedan agarrar uno de estos aparatos que tenemos al servicio de ustedes. Muchas gracias, que disfruten la junta.
Thank you so much.
Back to you, Vice Chair.
Right, so we're now gonna move on to public comment. If anyone has a public comment, please bring your speaker slip up to the clerk. We'll go from there.
You've already handed it.
Yeah.
Oh, they've already got it. Okay, great.
So we do have a few speaker slips submitted. When I call your name, you will come up to the podium. You will have 2 minutes to speak. I'd like to call Caesar up to the podium. Caesar Coswell.
We want to translate the 2-minute
Okay.
comment time in Spanish.
Awesome.
Allá en el podium.
Thank you, Francisco. If you would like to come up.
Yes, I'm
Thank you.
Okay.
Ok, vengo aquí.
I'm here in front of you.
Venimos aquí para reunir de las quejas que hay. El problema es esto. Yo tengo un problema. Millview, Woodside, hasta Costco.
The issue is here, they have problems with the signals and the roads on Middlefield, Woodside and Charter.
Ya. El problema es que el tráfico que viene entrando para Costco
The problem is that with the
no
traffic
respeta. Ya me
from
golpearon.
Costco, they don't respect the signals.
Y se
They
van.
already hit me once and they just don't respect, they go away.
No hay ninguna señal.
There are no signs.
En el árbol de adelante está una señal, el árbol le tapa la vista.
And well, there's one sign, but there's a tree that is blocking the sign for bicycles.
Okay. La otra es en la Millview y la Woodside.
The other one is in the intersection of Middlefield and
Hay
Woodside.
mucha basura, muchos clavos,
There
metales,
are a lot of
en las
garbage.
llantas.
There's garbage,
Yo no
there are
veo
a lot of nails that
y no
can puncture
pase
the
la
tires.
barredora ahí.
I don't see any sweeper passing by or anything cleaning there.
Yo salí golpeado ahí y otros amigos se han golpeado ahí.
Once I got hit there and other friends also have gotten hit as well.
Por favor, lo comento que lo arreglen esto y se evita los accidentes que hay. El
Please.
tráfico no te respeta, te pitan, te tiran. Y
Fix this
en el
because traffic doesn't
por
respect the
Starbucks
signs.
aquí hay una zapatría.
And there's a drainage, a sewer that is,
Están regados y las llantas te quedan trabadas.
the tires get stuck in the sewer by the sidewalk.
Which street was where the drain is?
¿Y en qué calle dice que es?
Entre Woodside y Burger King.
by Burger King on Woodside, close to
Entrando
Woodside.
por Amirville,
It's
ya entrando para la,
coming in through
la señal, no
Middlefield.
contestan ahí, que hay que poner
They
señal ahí.
don't respect the signs.
Respetan
And
el
it would be a
ciclista.
good idea to put a sign or people to respect the signs.
Okay, es la única que es el
That's
que
the
tengo
only
ahorita.
thing, only complaint I have so far.
Gracias por tu, que nos escuche y que sigan.
Thank you for
trabajando
listening
esto.
to us and please keep working, doing your job. Thank you.
So, can you translate this? That area that you're discussing, it's not North Fair Oaks. Middlefield and Woodside, that region, it's,
Woodside, hasta la entrada de Costco.
At the entrance of Costco, Woodside, and all the
Ahí-
way to the entrance of Costco.
no, I hear you. I just I don't think that area is North Fair Oaks. So I'm not sure what jurisdiction we would have.
Pero creo que es área.
Ya, yo sé.
I think it's Redwood City, is it not?
Through the chair, this is Emma. That's all City of Redwood City. Any concerns, he can direct them to the city council and or call Public Works for the city of Redwood City.
Sería.
Ya, pero pueden ustedes comunicar con Tilio de Redwood City.
Is there any way you guys can?
We'll provide him a number. If he could just go talk to Kenny, we'll provide him a number.
That will get updated.
The gentleman with his hand up has your number.
Ok, no, yo ya le hablé, no escuchan.
I have talked to them and they don't listen to us. I have talked to them before and they don't
Si
listen.
yo tengo, cuando paso con bicicleta tengo video.
When I have
Algo más que
videotapes
trae, esto lo
of
voy a
video
poner en la
that when
televisión
I'm
directo.
traveling with my bicycle, I see all these things. I can send you videos. So.
No, I believe it. We have zero jurisdiction for that area.
Sí, le creo, pero no tenemos jurisdicción para esa.
Ya, pero pueden hacerlo saber a ellos que lo que está pasando.
You guys can let them know.
Tal vez les escuche.
I will see what we can do. I'll chat with our team afterwards.
Y
and see what we can do.
vamos entonces a platicar después y entonces vamos a hacerlo.
Ok, ok.
you.
Gracias
Thank you
por escucharnos.
for listening.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Cesar. I'd like to call Maria Colorado up for public comments, followed by Hoya next.
Y creo que es lo mismo relacionado con lo que dijo el señor Alfonso.
You want to translate?
Sorry, can you come translate?
Creo que es lo mismo relacionado con lo que dijo el señor Alfonso.
I think
de-
this is the same related to what Mr. Alfonso was talking about the signs.
I think sería bueno poner señales, pero señales que los peatones tengan que presionar.
It would be a good idea to put some type of signs or a way for the people to press a button and make the sign available.
Así como en la website hay uno, no sé si hay uno o dos, pero
The same way the sign or the electronic signs are designed by Woodside.
las personas lo presionan y se
The
pone
people press the button and also
Y
they
es más
get
fácil
like
de
a
que
red
se-
light
de que se
by doing that. And it
puede
would be
pasar más
easier,
rápido el tráfico.
it's easier for traffic also to go by.
What street is she referring to?
Es la Middlefield, desde Costco hasta Quinta.
The Fifth Street, Costco,
Fifth Street.
Middlefield.
Okay, so between that area.
Entonces en esa área, ¿no?
Ya como dice el señor, los autos van muy rápido y
Like the person was talking about the cars travel too fast.
No respetan.
They don't respect people who are just crossing.
The great thing is that's one of our discussion points is a stop sign in that region tonight. So perhaps if you want to stay longer for the whole conversation, we could discuss that term. Thank you for this.
Thank you, Maria. I'd like to call. I'm sorry. Okay, thank you. And then next we'll have Gabriela.
Chuck, can you hear me okay? All right, my name's Poya. I've been very fortunate to live in North Fair Oaks for about 4 years. I love this neighborhood. I'm very glad we moved here. I'm here to talk to you guys about what I call the catastrophic event that's going to happen if we don't fix 4th Street, and specifically the road conditions on 4th Street. So I live on 4th Street between Middlefield and Park Road. There's a high school, there's a preschool. It's probably one of the busiest intersections. Don't ask me why I know this, but in May, we had 5,000 people between the hours of 7:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. on that street walking. That's students, that's elderly, that's kids. And you may ask, why am I here in city council asking for you to fix the road conditions? Because I'm not getting a response or the attention or the awareness of Public Works. For 2.5 years now, I've called them, I've emailed them, I've begged them to come visit me. And to be very clear, the maintenance team there is awesome. They talk, they come out, they visit me, but they always say, this isn't a pothole, you gotta call engineering. For 2.5 years now, I've tried getting the attention of Public Works engineering team. And for the first time, I got a response this week on Monday. I laid out what I want, what I'm looking for, and finally they said they're gonna bring it up to the supervisors. I took it a step further, hit up Ann Stillman, who runs that department, and Christoph, who runs the engineering team in that department. You would think maybe they respond back. I laid out how I feel, I laid out the facts, no response. So I'm here. And the reason I'm here is because I'm frustrated. It shouldn't take 2.5 years for a citizen to get the awareness and the attention of them. And I'll just, with the time I have, they're going off of a list that was created up to 20 years ago. They're going off of a list that was created 20 years ago, right? I think that's just ludicrous to me, right? And they're prioritizing 8th Street over ours. I beg you, I took photos this morning of 8th Street versus 4th Street. Let's go out with Public Works and tell me why they're prioritizing that street over 4th. That's the time I have. Thanks for listening to me. And I'm begging you to please bring this to the attention of Public Works because maybe they listen to you over me.
I have a question.
Sure.
Thank you for presenting this. Can you tell me details? You say road condition.
So
Potholes, what are we talking about?
I took photos,
Okay.
basically 4th Street on the odd numbers from 401 to 495. There is nothing. It's inconsistent. There is no road. It's rocks, it's potholes, like we don't even have sidewalks. And the worst part about this, guys, is in the winters, in the rainy months, I beg you to come out there. There's kids walking. The joke, when I told my friends that I begged to come over to my house to come by, they have a joke. They said, we don't like coming to that side of the street because it ruins our cars, right? That's a laughing stock. Like we're tax-paying citizens, homeowners.
Thank you.
And again, I took photos, I laid out everything, so I don't know if that gets shared with you guys or not, but I just want you to compare 8th Street versus 4th Street and tell me why objectively we're prioritizing one over the other outside of the fact we created a list 20 years ago. Is that it? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to call Gabriela.
Can I ask you a small question? I don't know who in this room can help me. I was told someone here is the supervisor for the road conditions, works directly with Public Works. Can I just know who that is?
Sir, this is Emma Gonzalez with the Office of Community Affairs and out of the County Executive Office. If you could, Kenny could in the back of the room could take down your information and we could certainly have someone get back to you.
Okay, I've been told that before, so I'm begging you, Emma, if you can get back to me.
Yeah,
with this information.
I have Ann's on the call. We're listening, but this is public comments, which is 2 minutes and we have your information. We'll get your information and get back to you.
You, Gabriela, you have 2 minutes to speak.
Good evening. My name is Gabriela Valencia and I have lived in North Fair Oaks for almost 30 years. I was a member of the North Fair Oaks Council many years ago. And I have noticed that community participation in meetings such as this one is quite limited. Of course, tonight we do have a few people here, which is wonderful. I would like to encourage all of you on the North Fair Oaks Council to advocate for ways to increase community participation in meetings such as this one. One way that I would suggest increasing community participation is to make sure that items that are brought up during the general comment section of this meeting become future agenda items. This way, the community members can see that the issues that are important to us are also part of the agenda at these meetings. And this would also establish a clear and easy pathway for members of the community to bring up issues of concern. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. Great recommendation.
Thank you. I'd like to call Delamy. Thank you. Sorry about that. Up for 2 minutes. Thank you.
No say anything, but I decided. Buenas tardes a todos, gracias por invitarnos. No sé si hablarles en inglés o en español.
I don't speak Spanish. Sorry.
Okay, so I'll do it in English, I guess. My name is Del Micazaldi, and I live on Stanford Avenue, Redwood City. And I noticed that by Middlefield and Hurlingate, they have put a stop sign, and I think they're gonna put a lights. And it's been happening that when we turn left on Hurlingate, people don't stop by coming from the south to north on Middlefield Road. And it's like, you know, I mean, we have cases sometimes that me and my husband are driving and all of a sudden they almost hit us a lot of times. So, and there's a lot of kids from Fair Oaks that cross the street, and they usually walk south. And it used to be a light there when people cross the street, but they took it out. And now it's just, the light is just sitting there without no lights, just stop, but people don't see the stops. And I don't think they will even see the lights that they're gonna put in to either go forward or turn in. So that's a big issue. And I've seen accidents happen in that street on Middlefield and Hurlingate.
Thank you for letting us know.
Say it again?
Thank you for letting us know.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Last call for public comment. One more. Okay, no. Awesome. Back to you, Vice Chair.
Okay. We're now gonna move on to the first item on our agenda, which is item number 3. And that is the Town of Atherton, San Mateo County's Transportation Authority, or El Camino Real for the Complete Streets Corridor Plan. Got a presentation?
Yes, that's me. Hello, everybody. All right,
Hello.
good to get started?
Yes, you need a microphone.
Mike.
You got it.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon or evening, I guess. Thanks so much for taking the time to be here and for allowing me to speak with you all for this next half hour. I have a presentation and then I'm looking to have a discussion with you all. So if I'm moving through these slides a little quickly, please forgive me. I can always go back and answer any questions you might have. But really, I'm here to talk to you all about the El Camino Real Complete Street Study.
Sorry.
Can you give us an introduction of your name, who you are?
That would probably be good, yeah. Hi, everybody, I'm Iris Osorio Viatoro. I have been working with the town of Atherton and SMCTA to do engagement for this effort, but generally help different transit agencies across the bay do engagement. happy to be here.
Thank you.
I'll also take this moment to introduce two more of our project members who are joining virtually, Carolyn Mamaradlo and Charles E. Chang. Carolyn works with SMCPA and Charles E. works with Samtrans. So as we move into the discussion, they're also available to jump in, answer any questions you all may have. This is a quick rundown of my agenda for today's presentation, but I think in the name of time, we can go ahead and move forward. All right, really I'm here to talk to you all about the project and make sure that we have established a shared understanding of what the project is, get your feedback on existing conditions, potential challenges and opportunities along that corridor, and talk to you all about how we've been approaching engagement in North Fair Oaks and beyond. So some basics about the project. This is a complete street study. A complete street study is meant to, or a complete street, I should say, is meant to provide mobility options for people of all ages and abilities, particularly those who are walking, biking, using personal mobility devices, riding transit, as well as drivers. It's meant to offer several benefits, including enhanced safety, quality of life, balanced variety of options for travel. You can see some of the things that complete streets might contain on this slide: active sidewalks, public space, dedicated or protected bike lanes, safe crossings for pedestrians. These are the types of things that we're hoping to explore within the study. So a little bit of background about the study itself. We're here really just to talk about a mile and a half stretch of El Camino Real in between Valparaiso and Selby Lane, not directly off of North Fair Oaks, but adjacent enough that we know that a lot of you are regular corridor users of this mile and a half. It is one of the final gaps across the county to improve El Camino Real and make sure that we improve multimodal and safety infrastructure across the corridor. And I also want to mention that we're pretty early on in the study. So really right now we're preparing for our project initiation document phase. If you have more questions about the specifics of that, I'd be happy to pass it off to Carolyn during the discussion. Some of our goals of this study is to improve safety and quality of life, improve connectivity, enhance equity and access for folks who aren't necessarily always driving along this corridor, and to expand travel options so that people can use El Camino Real in the ways that they would like to. So a little bit about where we are in the study and the timeline for the study. Right now, we're kind of identifying needs, identifying existing conditions, talking to folks about their current experience on El Camino Real. We're coming up on the end of this phase, which has produced a lot of really rich feedback from different folks across the community. But we're getting all of this feedback now because in the next couple of months, our project team is going to start putting together some alternative concepts for this mile and a half of El Camino Real that might include different components that I mentioned earlier when I was defining a complete streets and what that really is. And so we're collecting all of this feedback now so that we can potentially come back to all of you in the fall and talk through different designs and concepts for the corridor that actually respond to some of your community's needs. Next slide. All right, let's talk a little bit about the corridor itself. So this is our project area. As you can see, we're really talking about El Camino Real in between Valparaiso and Selby Lane. We have quite a few schools in the area and quite a few transit options in the area as well. You can go to the next slide. This is kind of a breakdown of what that corridor currently looks like. So just to maybe orient you a little bit to this map, the red means there are no sidewalks along the corridor. The gray means there are sidewalks, and then those white squares are parking spaces available. And the blue dots are bus stops. So as you can see on the southbound side of this corridor, that's the Atherton side, there is no sidewalk whatsoever. And on the northbound side, the middle part of the corridor is missing a sidewalk network. There is some parking, but altogether the design of the street is fairly inconsistent. We have some bus stops, that aren't really surrounded by sidewalks, so it's not the most accessible experience for those who aren't in their cars. Yeah, we can go to the next slide. This is just a picture of El Camino Real, so you get a feel of what it's like to walk along this corridor. I'm sure many of you are familiar. Next slide. Same thing here, just another picture of the corridor. So just to inform you all a little bit more about what the study is doing, we are not just doing engagement. There's a couple different technical efforts that are going alongside this. We're looking to understand traffic data to see the number of people, bikes, cars at a given street or intersection during peak periods. We want to understand how fast traffic goes, how dense traffic is, when it is that dense. We're also looking at crash data that's been collected between 2018 and 2022. And we're looking to create a mobility profile that puts together all of this information. So travel data, travel patterns, information about how people use the road. This map is a little bit of information about our crash analysis, and we thought it was important to bring to the discussion as we're talking about why we might need a complete street study. This is crash data from 2018 all the way to the end of 2022. In our findings, we found a total of 73 crashes. Now, granted, this doesn't account for the almost crashes, the unreported crashes, the moments that you're not safe that don't make it into this data source. But from what we have available to us, we've been able to look into a total of 73 crashes. And I think what's important to name here, a couple of different things, is one, we have these hot spots. So the red on the map means that more accidents have happened there, and we see it around Valparaiso and Selby Lane. Also important to call out that of these 73 crashes, 7 of them involved pedestrians and 7 of them involved cyclists. 2 of them were fatal. One was somebody crossing the road near Watkins Avenue, and one was somebody walking along the shoulder near Valparaiso. Next slide, please. And I want to call out that 7 pedestrian crashes, 7 cyclist crashes may not feel like a ton when you're comparing it to the total of 73 crashes, but when you look at the statistics, less than 1% of the users of the corridor are cyclists or pedestrians, and yet they're involved in 20% of the crashes. So there is a disproportionate danger to those who are using El Camino that are not in their vehicles. And these are just a couple of articles that we've pulled that we're sure you've seen in some way or another. We just want to bring attention to the fact that we know that this has been a community issue for a long time now. People have been advocating for safe changes to El Camino Real to make it safer. These are just a couple article titles that we've ripped from a couple different sources, just calling out the need for improved safety on El Camino Real and just bringing it back to the human experience on El Camino Real, because sometimes I think when we're looking at numbers, it can get a little impersonal. Just really quickly, also want to touch on how we've been doing engagement for this project. I'll try not to spend too much time here. Really, we're looking to engage diverse communities, achieve a balanced representation of stakeholders, and maximize our awareness and participation. We've been doing that in a couple ways. For the next slide. So just to give a quick rundown, really happy to be here tonight speaking with you all at the North Fair Oaks Community Council meeting. We have been doing a number of outreach efforts in this area and in other areas where people use this segment of El Camino Real. A few pop-ups, one here at the Fair Oaks Community Center during a food distribution, which was a really valuable experience. We also have an online survey that's open through the end of the week if anybody would like more information about that or the opportunity to share it with somebody you know. And then we've had a couple of different engagement arms as well. We've had listening sessions with different stakeholders, school administrators, bicycle advocates, you all is what we're doing here today. And we also had a virtual community meeting last week that a few folks attended. So now I'm hoping that we can use the rest of our time to have a good discussion on challenges, opportunities, and engagement. I have a couple questions for you all, but I think this can also be kind of a free-flowing conversation with the time that we have left. Really, we're looking to hear from you all how you would describe your experience traveling on El Camino Real, if the people you work with or yourselves experience challenges traveling along this portion of El Camino Real, what you think the biggest opportunities for the street might be, and then if you have any thoughts about our engagement, how we should be approaching engagement for this effort, because we will be coming back and starting up our efforts again in the fall when we have design concepts to run by the community. So I think I have a bit of a process question as to whether we take comments from council members or, okay. Okay, so I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Yeah, I do have a couple of questions. Thank you.
Microphone, please.
Yeah, sorry.
I got it. Well, you can talk.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation, for coming on this evening. There's a few issues on this particular section that you're bringing up on El Camino Real. It is a very interesting segment of El Camino Real because when you're coming north, say from Menlo Park, as soon as Menlo Park is over, El Camino Real becomes a 3-lane, almost a highway, because there are no sidewalks. There's a lane that divides the road, but it's not a bike lane. Officially it's not a bike lane because doesn't have any markings, and the width of that asphalt is extremely limited. In some cases, maybe a couple of feet only, 3 at most. And so I have been tempted to use my bicycle more often. And, the best route for me to go would be using El Camino Real and go straight to Palo Alto. However, that segment really frightens me. And so I don't try it. Now, when I drive, many times I've seen people, risking their lives, riding their bicycles, sometimes at night. And so I understand why the discrepancy in accidents, happens around these areas. And it is precisely because in North Fair Oaks, we have a really high number of people who don't have a car, and either they walk or use their bicycle or take public transportation. And, a lot of what you would call essential workers live here in this community, and either to go north on El Camino or south on El Camino, that's one of the best ways to either go to work, go to school, or go, for recreation, etc. So yeah, thank you for, bringing this up. The intersection, particularly around Fifth Avenue, it has several other challenges. In particular, around Selby Lane, because many children and parents take their children to Selby school, and they have to get across that dangerous stretch of El Camino. And one of my questions is, how come there isn't a sidewalk, on that stretch? That's the first thing that comes to mind. I understand, the challenges about bicycle lanes, and of course, I would also advocate for bicycle lanes. However, if there was at least, sidewalks, it is already, an advantage to pedestrians and even, cyclists. So, yeah, that is one of my questions. I wonder if you have, an answer or.
Yeah, I believe Carolyn and Charles-E have been given panelist abilities from virtually, and maybe I can toss this question to Carolyn that she can speak on.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. And that is a great question. Thank you for posing it to us, something that we're certainly looking to resolve. One of the things that we've been hearing from other folks in the community is that there is a desire to have somewhat of a rural feel and preserve the natural elements in the corridor. So my best guess on why there aren't paved sidewalks along some parts of the corridor is maybe tied to that desire from the community. But we certainly recognize the need, the safety need, and are looking to ways we can resolve that.
Thank you. I do have another question, but I'm going to let Mike up here ask his first.
Yeah, I'm just gonna comment because I bike that corridor sometimes. I like the wide shoulders going south. It's not so bad in the daylight. It's horrible at night. It is, the trees are overgrown. And there's no streetlights. Even at like Atherton Avenue, I think it's just kind of like a black spot, and you have to make it through this like 2-mile gap to get down to Menlo Park, if you're going to Safeway or Trader Joe's. It's wide enough that I feel kind of safe, especially like daylight hours, 6:30 in the morning till it stays light pretty late. So the lighting is like the #1 issue that could be improved. I like the idea of sidewalks, but I like the wide shoulders the way it is right now, because you can kind of share that. There's actually a law in the books of Palo Alto that it's legal to take the sidewalk if it feels unsafe to ride in the street, unless otherwise posted. So like downtown, you can't ride on the sidewalks, but the rest of the town, you could be on the shoulder of El Camino, and if it's a little bit hectic, a lot of people getting over into the right lane to turn, and it doesn't feel safe, you can actually ride on the sidewalk legally. I think that's a wise thing that they put on the books, and a lot of people like to complain about cyclists taking the sidewalk, and it's illegal, they shouldn't do it, but it's a safety thing sometimes. It's just not safe to share a curb or whatever with rapidly merging cars and all that. And then the Selby Lane, there's a lot of school traffic, that's a real-time thing. It's so close to Fifth Avenue where we have the signals, and people are a little frustrated about like all these stop signs and pedestrian crossings, but Menlo Park's added a couple down along that stretch, and people are getting used to it. When it's activated and they got the lighted crosswalk strips and the overhead things, and they know to stop at the flashing red, and when it's red, you stop. And when it starts flashing, it could be a stop sign. You just make sure it's clear. And yeah, we definitely need something. This is just a general comment that lighting would be my first priority. Sidewalks would be nice, but I don't want to lose the shoulders that allow multiple users. That's all I got.
Back to Everett. Do you have a question?
I do have. Hi, Iris. A couple of things. One of the things I wanted to mention was that this council, I believe a couple of years ago, passed a resolution asking the Board of Supervisors to support funding, Measure A funding for the Complete Streets streets project, so we've been aware of the project for quite some time. As far as the fatalities at Watkins and Valparaiso go, and I think this is picking up on something Blair just said, there's a lot of landscaping, as you well know, around those intersections. I don't know what could be done, but if there are pedestrians, particularly on the east side of El Camino, that are using the crosswalks there, they can suddenly appear simply because there's so much vegetation right at the very edge of those intersections. You talk a little bit about the bus stops. I also serve on the Samtrans board, and we're currently, Samtrans itself currently has a bus stop improvement program that they're doing. So if in the course of this project, there are stops that people perhaps use more often, or if you see the need for improvement to those stops, please reach out to Samtrans people, either April Chan, myself, someone on the board, so we can take that into account as that program is implemented. The other question that I had was with regard to crash data. And my particular concern is as you're heading south towards Valparaiso, I see a lot of people that will be in the far right lane and use that as, we'll call it an expressway. That lane tends to be pretty quick right up until you get to Valparaiso, where El Camino narrows down. It merges from, I believe, 3 lanes to 2 as it enters Menlo Park. And I was wondering if there was a significant amount of crash incidents that happened there with people moving out of that far right lane into the flow of traffic that can go straight through Menlo Park. Is that the case?
Yeah, maybe Carolyn or Charles, you can add more details to this. I can definitely confirm that Valparaiso is one of our crash hot spots. When we look at the data from the 4 years, it's really Valparaiso and Selby Lane that have the most incidents. But I'm not clued into the exact details.
If it's the southbound thing, perhaps a longer solid white line coming away from the intersection at Valparaiso might discourage people from using that far right lane right up until the intersection and then shifting into one of the lanes that goes through.
It's helpful.
Okay, thank you.
Did you have a question?
No, I didn't have any questions. I think until we get a plan presented, it's hard to really give any comment aside from, I'm all for the safety of improving that area.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And we definitely, in the fall, when we have these alternative concepts, we'd love to have the opportunity to come back and have another discussion.
Thank you.
Question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Another question, and then a suggestion, since you mentioned outreach. First of all, thank you for considering enhanced equity and access. Communities like ours in North Fair Oaks truly appreciate, adding that component to anything that's being considered. And it not only in infrastructure, but in general. And then my question is, if the median on, speaking about real estate and, considering that some stretches over Camino Real are wider, I'm wondering if the median could be considered for, having the bicycle routes and pedestrian route. It could serve even for people to, jog or walk, if there were, there are trees now in some parts of it, but I think if it was created in a more targeted way as a, sort of parklet stretch, I think that it would, beautify El Camino Real, but also would provide alternatives for, recreation and cycling and, pedestrians as well. Are you, or is it being considered, the median, as an alternative?
Carolyn, you want to take this one?
Yeah, I think I appreciate the idea. We're certainly looking at any opportunity to reconfigure the space to squeeze in these other modes. The median is one idea. Some of the challenges with that are turn pockets that use that space close as you approach the intersections. So we'll have to, coordinate with the engineers on the project team to see what creative solutions we can explore without creating other issues with the turning movements.
Yeah, thank you. And, many cities have this type of boulevards and, they successfully have managed to make them work, in many regards. But then moving on to the suggestion about outreach, of course, you are always welcome to come back to the North Oaks Council. And we would be very interested in, hearing more about anything that happens with these discussions and planification. But I'm also thinking that in order to engage the public better, it shouldn't necessarily sound simply as, as a transportation item, in my view. I think it has a lot of opportunities for beautification, for creating, pockets of recreation, and bettering communities in general. So I think that if we limit ourselves to calling these a transportation project or item, then a lot of people may turn off, and not want to participate. But that's my suggestion.
I think it's a constant struggle figuring out how to present information, so super useful.
Who initiated this study?
I believe it was the town of Atherton. Carolyn, can you confirm?
Yeah, it's a broad partnership. The sponsor of the project is the town of Atherton, and they applied for grant funds through San Mateo County Transportation Authority. And then we also have additional funding contributions from Samtrans, City of Menlo Park. So it's a
wide effort.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Last call for council member comments,
May I ask a clarifying question?
please.
There was a comment regarding using the wide shoulders and sharing that space. Is your experience that there's so much use in that area by bicyclists that they're often riding abreast? Is that what?
No, I usually see at most 3 people, single file. It's not a heavily biked corridor, but there's some.
I personally don't bike it. I end up taking Middlefield instead just because of the safety.
Or Laurel for that matter. Which is even closer to.
Right, yeah, I think you would find very few cyclists or pedestrians in that area. Because even though that section of El Camino Real tends to be wider than in other places, it's still pretty dangerous considering that there are no sidewalks, there's no light, and people naturally tend to speed up, on that stretch for some reason. So even if it's a little wider, some of us don't venture to take that road.
Any other questions or concerns? All right, we're open to public comment.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. Any public comments?
We do. We have two speakers submitted first. Speakers have submitted. When I call your name, you will come up to the podium. I like to call Kent Mansky. Thank you.
Who?
Kent Mansky.
Okay.
Up for public comment, you will have 2 minutes.
Do you guys have more microphones that you can use? Because
We've
it's
got-
really hard to hear you back here.
Right now, we just have these
We've got
2.
2.
Yeah,
Switch back and forth.
yeah, we'll switch back.
Greetings, I applaud this effort. The year is 2024. El Camino Real is still a death trap for bicyclists and pedestrians in Atherton and North Fair Oaks. Atherton insists historically on a 3-lane freeway. The only stretch of there's 3 lanes of racing traffic with no protection for bicyclists or pedestrians. We began this discussion with Atherton 7 years ago. At those early meetings, the San Mateo County Public Works were really not paying attention. And the solutions were totally Atherton-centric, not focused on El Camino Real's impact on the neighborhoods in North Fair Oaks. When we finally got San Mateo County Public Works to attend those meetings, the next round of solutions, such as solutions for the Selby Lane intersection, finally had some alternative solutions that paid attention to neighborhoods not focused and living in Atherton. It is really the responsibility of this council and San Mateo County to bring everybody on board so this effort is not Atherton-centric, and that we end this belief that bicyclists and pedestrians are second-class citizens. Let's be real. We do not need more casualties, and we do not need more engineers telling us that these fatalities are because we have to have a macho attitude that cars rule. Let's get to work honestly with integrity.
Right here, right there, right there.
There you go.
You can just leave the mic up there. Thank you.
Check. I'll keep it quick. I just actually wanted to just echo everything Mike said. I cycle that road, but I also take my wife to work. She works at Stanford and she works like 12, 13-hour shifts. I'll just give you like the driver's perspective. You can't see anything as a driver when you're going, like in terms of the lights, like I know Menlo Park is really against lights, and I used to live there, like they had no lights where it's dark, but that zone is like I'm pretty sure some drivers don't see, as unfortunate as it sounds, when they hit someone, because it comes out of nowhere. So like the biggest priority more than anything is I think lights, because it's just when it gets dark, especially in like months where we don't have daylight savings, it gets pretty freaking hectic. So anyway, that's just the only thing I wanted to say.
Thank you.
That's all.
That's it, public comments, okay. All right. We're gonna move on to the last agenda item, number 4. We're gonna move on to agenda item number 4. And this is to explore, discuss, if stop signs are needed between 2nd Avenue and 4th Avenue. I think I'm hearing comment today. Sounds like we definitely need some traffic control and something to assist in that area. I'm gonna kick off the discussion and say that I am for it. I think we definitely need stop signs. The challenge we had was we had them starting during the construction time. There was quite a bit of signs and helped out a lot with traffic, but it also stopped a lot of the flow of traffic in that corridor for businesses, for people to flow through. And I think a lot of people started going in different routes, and we're not getting nearly as much business in that area that I've personally noticed. No study behind it, but just what I've seen. Not as much foot traffic. I don't know how that's going to affect it as much, but from a safety perspective, I think something is needed. I was talking to Kathleen, our chair, earlier today. We were discussing, potential options. I know that the agenda item talks about potentially having stop signs at Second and Fourth Avenue. It may be too much to have that many slow to flow. My personal thought is that we might be able to just have one at Third Avenue. That way Casa Circular and the parking lot in that whole area has the ability to stop and we get that stop in traffic to the public out. But again, this is open to discussion. This is just my thoughts. I want to pass this on to anyone else that has any thoughts or ideas.
I can get the conversation started. And so I think that, one of the issues of not having stop signs is that we only trust the pedestrian lights that are placed along this stretch of Middlefield Road. And those lights, however, many times have a delay in the sense that when people press the button, they of course have to wait until the lights go on. And many times a motorist, it's already going, so it's hard to stop, when the lights begin. And so oftentimes motorists don't even see those lights flashing. I think that the advantage of having stop signs is that traffic slows down for sure and, comes to a stop at that stop sign. And it provides an opportunity for pedestrians to, run away if they have to, or stop, in their tracks if the motorists for some reason don't see them. There used to be these type of lights that would flash, but they were all across the road. So it was pretty evident when, the lights started flashing. But the lights that are currently placed for pedestrians along Middlefield Road, they are only placed on poles at each side of the road, on the curb. And, if the motorists, and God knows that these days, a lot of motorists, drive the car with one hand and with the other, they hold their cell phones. It just, in my view, is a recipe for accidents to happen. Now, if this was a stretch of the road, Middlefield Road, and other cities, Menlo Park, Palo Alto, where the number of pedestrians is relatively low, then I would think, okay, so there aren't too many pedestrians. The chances of a pedestrian being run over or hit are not that high. Maybe, but here in North Fair Oaks, there's a lot of pedestrians. We have, it's just incredible how many people are, out there walking and cycling. And I think not having one single stop sign from Pacific Avenue all the way to Fifth Avenue, where there's a light, is just the other extreme of what we had during the construction. And the interesting thing is that during the construction, there were almost stop signs at every corner, and I understand, for a reason, because there were a lot of workers, around in situations that were dangerous. At the same time, you had the pedestrians, so, they were needed, although, everybody hated having one stop sign at each corner. But I think, now that Middlefield Road is finished and open to regular traffic, I think not having one single stop sign in that long stretch is very dangerous. So I would advocate for, at least 1 or 2 stop signs.
There's too many kids, too many pedestrians, especially near Casa Circular, that parking lot area. It's just too much going on to risk having an incident.
Right, and now there's also the offices of job training,
Yes.
And there are other businesses that are opening up, new businesses coming to town. So, yeah, the number of pedestrians is just about to increase. And, there's also the high school that is, the gentleman who gave public comment, which is commenting about, this high school. And, their kids in the morning, when they come out to do lunch, I mean, you should see that part of course, 4th Avenue, but Middlefield Road, it just gets, extremely busy. So, yeah, it would be safe to, ask for 1 or 2 stop signs.
Agreed. I think the balance is trying to figure out how much is too many to where it stops business flow in that area. And what's the right balance that we can.
A lot of the traffic is cutting across to get deeper into the neighborhood. You got that at Hurlingham. And 2nd Avenue crosses the train tracks again. There's only certain streets that'll let you get over to like Spring Street, stuff over there. So if you're talking about specific locations for something, I would say 2nd Avenue might be better than some of the other choices because the county lot, you got to come in on 2nd Avenue. And it's a street that cuts across the train tracks further down and gets you over. The sheriff's department said they were going to be gentle in the enforcement. They weren't going to be real sticklers as we rolled out the new layout. But at some point, we're going to ask and they're going to do like a crackdown. And if people are in the crosswalk and you're not yielding to them, you're going to get the ticket. And they're going to do like, that's going to happen.
No, it's going to happen. From my perspective, Middlefield is wide. So when they press the button, signs are not always directly in your clear sight. They're in the peripherals. You don't always see it. I don't always see it.
My experience recently just driving up and down, it's hard getting used to because it feels like we lost some turn lanes, like that Hurlingham thing used to have a left turn lane and then the continuation separate now with the bike lane striped in. I don't oppose doing something, but I don't want to go back to a stop sign on every block. But if we could figure out 1 or 2 places that really make sense. At this point, I think Hurlingham in 2nd or maybe 3rd. As you get closer to 5th, it's actually backed up about 2 or 3 blocks. So every block is basically a stop sign, even though there's no one there. And the people.
During rush hour.
Yeah, most time during rush hour. Yeah, so it's worth studying, it's worth doing something, not just down at 2nd and 3rd and 4th, but also the Hurlingham crossover
Do
traffic.
we need a study session my thought is that area seems like it definitely needs one. At least I live there, so it looks like it, at least from my perspective of being there, jumping across Middlefield all the time. It needs a stop sign. So what is the study session going to do besides tell us what we already know?
Well,
You drafted.
I guess, first of all, the alternatives, because there are certain restrictions that probably county has in terms of placing stop sign. And I'm not sure what is the criteria, for placing a stop sign where there isn't one. But I know that sometimes it can be difficult, just like, trying to install or implement bumps on the road so people can slow down. So there are certain requirements, and I'm not sure if Tim may be able to tell us, what some of those requirements may be.
Well, yeah, yeah. I know there's definitely gonna be a process, and us discussing this and saying that we want it done next week, next month, whatever it may be, there's gonna be some county process and procedure involved in getting this all set up. My personal feeling of if we can come up with any resolution, or at least final outcome today, that what we want to present to the county is that we already know we need stop signs there. My personal presentation is to say, skip the study session, we know we need it, let's push it for that corridor between Middlefield 2nd and 4th. I'm personally saying Middlefield and 3rd, just because it's just between both of them. But I don't want to sit here and push back and say, let's go through a long, arduous study session to delay more time, spend more county money and resources for something we already know. Now, whether or not we have the authority to do that, that's another question.
Through the vice chair, Emma Gonzalez has her hand up.
Go ahead, Emma.
Emma?
Sorry about that. I was getting my button. So what I'm hearing tonight, and I know Tim can add in, I'm sure might be able to add in some more, but what I'm hearing a couple things tonight. We've heard earlier on public comments that some drivers are not obeying the law and they're going right through the stop sign. The discussion item as well is about the unsafetyness and maybe for pedestrians, et cetera. It certainly is an enforcement issue. I think Blair, you also mentioned that. And what I will do as my takeaway is work with the sheriff's office. And we did go lightly. We were not enforcing. We were not having the sheriffs enforce. But what I'm hearing from public comments as well as from this group is that is certainly something that we need. And I'll work with the sheriff's office to begin those enforcement as well as those key areas that were identified tonight.
Thank you. I think that's just one aspect of it. Enforcement is just one side, but we're also discussing actually setting up another stop sign in addition to enforcement between Middlefield 2nd and 4th. So I think they're two separate parallel issues. Yes, they're all one big problem, but two separate agendas that we're trying to push through.
If I may add.
Please.
And if I may add a little bit to that. So yeah, I agree that enforcement is necessary. But the other thing is that my understanding was that CHP was responsible for that, but I may be wrong. But in any case, I think there's a difficulty if we only want to leave it up to enforcement, because sure, maybe we can do it once a month, for a few months. But then after that, CHP and sheriff have other duties that, sometimes are more important than ticketing, people who don't yield to pedestrians. And it is very understandable. So I think, a better permanent solution may be, to have at least one stop sign in combination of, enforcement and the other pedestrian lights, scattered along the stretch. Did you have?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, I share the concern that, the more stop signs we have, the slower Middlefield becomes, and it could be detrimental to local businesses. These days, I keep getting to these meetings about 10 minutes early because I'm not used to, I haven't adapted to the fact that Middlefield is so quick now. And part of that is we really don't have a lot of stop signs there. I believe this council has heard input from people on 2nd in the past as to the number of cars that come through and the speed that they come through. So that would be one that was interesting. And I think Emma maybe can answer this question as far as process is concerned. I'm not sure whose jurisdiction it is, if it's Public Works or who makes those decisions, but presumably there'd be a study. I do want to make sure that we get community input from the people that live on 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and the businesses on Middlefield to make sure that if we do this, we do it in the right place. And then figure out who makes the decision and where we go from there.
And just another point, I've heard, related to what Brooks was saying about businesses having an opinion against a stop sign or for a stop sign. I've heard, and I cannot corroborate these, but I've heard that in Menlo Park, how many lights there are, and it's hard to get through El Camino Real in Menlo Park because there's almost a light every single corner. And so at some point I heard that it was purposely done so that traffic would slow down and it would benefit the businesses along there. So, so on one hand, maybe it isn't too detrimental to have traffic slow down so that people can look around and see what businesses are there. But, it's hard to say. I'm not a business owner, so I don't know. But
So what action item are we walking away with today? What are,
I think we need to figure out what the process is and who we go to actually request this. And then I would.
so next step is process of who can actually get this implemented.
Yeah.
And we can do that internally with the county.
We can carry over the agenda item, and if someone wants to write a resolution, like, to the Board of Supervisors, we request the traffic improvement in this area.
Who actually can do that?
The member of the Board of Supervisors, Warren Slocum, we pass a resolution. That's us taking a stand, and then his staff looks at it, takes it to the county staff, and
Then I pass a resolution, or I recommend a resolution.
we don't have quorum tonight.
Okay.
We'd have to carry it over.
We gotta carry it to the next meeting. Yeah. Is Kathleen on the line? No? Okay. Well, then let's pass it to the next week, next session. Any other comments internally within our group? Last call for that. Public comments,
Yeah, we have a few speaker slips.
please.
When I call your name, you may come up to the podium. I'd like to call Araceli up, and then Francisco, can we also have you up here? You can find it.
Sí, buenas tardes, mi nombre es Araceli.
Good evening, my name is Axel.
Yo vivo aquí en
I live here on North Fair Oaks.
y mi preocupación que ahorita ya estoy escuchando
My
pues,
concern right now
que puede ser que ya va a ser solucionada, pero una de mis
is that
preocupaciones
hopefully we're gonna come with a solution.
era el camino que está aquí de la Mirofield hasta la quinta,
It
que
was the
está
road that is Middlefield and all the way to the field.
el último stop que tenemos es en la Pacific
The last stop that we have is Pacific
y de ahí ya no hay más
From there
stop
on,
hasta
there
el
are
semáforo
more
de la
stops.
Quinto.
until the light on Fifth.
Entonces, eso es por eso que
That's why
quería hacer sugerencias de que si
wanted
podían
to
poner
suggest-
topes o otros stops entre medio de calles,
And we
porque
could have some bumps or some stops between the streets.
las calles que están así para de este lado,
Because the
de tu
streets
mano derecha,
on the right side,
ahí todos tienen stop, pero
everybody has a stop.
para incluir,
there.
meterse a la Middlefield es
when
muy
you-
problemático,
Come in on Middle Street, it's very problematic to come in.
porque todos los que vamos derecho
Because
no
everybody
tenemos
who
nada
wants
de
to go
stop.
straight has no stops.
Just to understand this correctly, you're saying you want speed bumps on the side roads?
Pues estaría bien porque también
It
es
would be
muy
a good idea.
peligroso para las
It is
personas
very
que van
dangerous
caminando.
for people who are walking as well.
So that's Middlefield, but what side street specifically are you referring to? Do you want all of them, or are you talking about anything specific?
Pues sería como, digamos,
It
como
would be-
cada dos bloques
two
para que no
blocks
se
would be
tampoco
great.
se estacione
So
mucho, se haga mucho
people-
tráfico.
don't stop too much on traffic.
Pero ¿cuál calle quiere, está sugiriendo los stop signs?
And what street
Pues
you
sería en la
suggesting?
Don Bertón, tal vez en la Dumberton.
Pero sobre la Middlefield.
Sí, sobre la Middlefield. El problema es la Middlefield.
The problem is Middlefield.
El problema es la
So
Middlefield.
speed bumps on Middlefield.
Yeah.
So we're talking the same thing. The stop signs may actually alleviate that as well.
Sí, también porque
Yes,
las
correct.
calles que están de la
And
mano
also the
derecha,
streets
de
on
nuestra
the
mano
right
derecha,
side, on our
todos ellos
right
quieren
side,
stop. Pero
all
la
of
calle
them
que
have
está de la
stops,
Middlefield así
signs,
para de la
the one
Pacífico
on
hasta el
Pacific,
Laquito, ya no hay
all the
más
way to the
stop.
fifth,
Y los que
they
vienen de
don't have
este
stop
lado
signs.
no se pueden
And
incorporar tan
the ones
fácilmente
that
a la Middlefield.
on the right side cannot join on Middlefield easily.
Essentially, if I may clarify, it's just for neighbors who live on the side of the train tracks. It is difficult for them to merge onto Middlefield Road because the traffic does not stop all the way from Pacific to Fifth Avenue. So her concern is that she lives on that side and merging onto Middlefield Road is a challenge.
That is a challenge. 'Cause I see, even with the stop signs there, I do see that it is a big problem.
Yeah, and that's an excellent point because I hadn't thought of that, from that perspective. It's a valid one.
Thank you. I'd like to call up Elena Valencia, followed by Gabriela Kamal.
Sí, buenas noches. Mi
Good
nombre es
evening.
Elena.
My name is Elena Valencia.
Siempre he pedido que
I've
tengo
always
la oportunidad de
asked
venir acá,
to
de pedir un
have the opportunity to
la calle Thatcher y
speak
la
here
Ferox,
on Rancher
porque
and Ferox.
en horas de que los
There
niños están saliendo,
are
los
times
carros no dan acceso
the kids
para doblar
are
sobre la
coming out.
cancha.
There is no access to turn on
Cancha y Ferox.
Rancher and Ferox.
Entonces, pues sí lo necesitamos
we do
porque
need
los
something there
carros,
because
cuando es
the
hora de
cars,
recoger los
when
niños,
there's
no
a
dan
time to pick
acceso.
up the kids, the cars don't give access to.
Y sobre la
So,
calle La Hancha,
And also on the streets of
si
Hampton,
hubiera una oportunidad que pusieran un
there was
túmulo,
an
hay muchos
opportunity
niños que caminan sobre La Hancha y los
there are
carros
many
ahí pasan
kids
bien
that
rápido.
travel on Hunter, and the cars travel really fast.
Gracias.
Thank you.
I'd like to call Gabriela Kamal.
Buenas tardes.
Good evening.
Mi nombre es Gabriela
My name is
Camal.
Gabriela
Yo
Camal.
vengo como
And I come here
representante
just to
de
represent
mi vecindario.
of my
Es
neighborhood.
pero he vivido todo mi año ahí desde el
Ferox is my
96.
neighborhood. I've been living
Hemos visto muchas cosas,
here
como
for
dice
many
mi amiga
years.
Elena,
And we've seen a
ocupamos
lot
mucho
of
lo que es
things, like
mucho
Elena
el
said,
stop,
we
porque
use,
realmente
we
hay
want
niños
that
que
stop,
cruzan, no
those stop signs,
respetan
because there are people who
los
don't respect
pasajeros.
the,
Y como
the
dice
people
uno,
crossing.
si uno trata de
They
evitar,
say if one
nosotros hubo un
tries,
año que estuvimos
it's
trabajando
been
lo
a
que es
year that
escuela
we've
Fero.
been working on
Nosotros
school
como
Ferox,
padres voluntarios,
like
mis
volunteers
hijos
or
estudiaron
parents
ahí.
volunteers. My kids studied
Nosotros
there,
hacíamos esto,
and we
pero
were
hoy
doing that.
se ha vuelto, como
But
dice,
today, nowadays, it's been
para nosotros
to
es
us,
una lástima que Fero
it's
se ha
so bad
vuelto
that
eso,
Ferox
sí,
has become this,
porque ahora
because now
salen los niños a la
the
escuela y
kids come
están las
out
dos
from the
filas
school and there are two lanes
de carro.
of cars.
Quiere pasar uno
One
caminando,
wants
no
to
puede,
cross
porque están todos
walking and we're
bloqueando
not
lo que es
able
la
to
área de
because there are
pasadero.
cars blocking
Estaría bien si
the,
ponen un
the
stop
walk or
con
the,
una luz tan siquiera ese lado, porque sí,
it would be
no
nice to have
necesita
like a
Fero.
light or a stop
Y
sign
queremos que nos
because we do
escuchen, porque
need,
todo
I
el
would
tiempo
like
hemos
you
pedido
guys to
eso,
listen to us
no
because
estamos
we've been asking for
viendo
them
nada
for a
ahí.
while and we haven't seen that.
Yo vivo ahorita
I
por
live
el área por
here
la
by the
tercera,
area on Third,
lo que es Meadowfield,
is Middlefield,
y yo he visto muchos
and I've
accidentes.
seen
It's hard to understand when people speak at the same time.
Yes.
Y he visto muchos accidentes en la mero fin, como dicen, necesitamos que nos escuchen, que pongan, aunque sea un stop, unas luces, porque no lo respetan. A nosotros nos ha costado de que hemos estado pasando y hasta nos hacemos un lado, porque nos quieren llevar de, como dicen.
I have seen a lot of accidents and we do need some stops, signs, something for the cars to stop because it's become really dangerous just to cross the streets.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to call Gabriela Valencia.
Good evening again. For the record, I'm Gabriela Valencia, and I have lived in North Fair Oaks for almost 30 years. In the past, each council member used to have their own microphone. And I think it would be great if you could go back to that at future meetings. That would facilitate things. Thank you. I'm here to advocate in favor of installing at least 2 stop signs on Middlefield Road. I often walk and drive on Middlefield Road. And as you know, there's only 1 traffic light at the corner of 5th and Middlefield Road and 1 stop sign at the corner of Middlefield and Pacific Avenue. There will also be a traffic light at the train tracks by the Fair Oaks Health Center, but that is not functioning yet, as you know. I often notice cars on Middlefield Road that speed up quite a bit on the section between 5th and Avenue and Pacific. Sometimes drivers do not stop for pedestrians, even when the crossing lights are flashing. During times of heavier traffic, it's also very difficult for us drivers to get on and off Middlefield Road because the traffic flows very fast. I advocate for 2 stop signs, one at 2nd Avenue and another one on Dumbarton Avenue. I would imagine that once the new traffic light by the Fair Oaks Health Center is functioning, the stop sign at Pacific Avenue will be eliminated. I believe that having this new traffic light and adding 2 stop signs, one at Dumbarton and another one on 2nd Avenue, would make Middlefield Road safer for pedestrians as well as drivers. I ask all members of the board to please consider supporting the installation of the 2 stop signs on Middlefield Road that I'm recommending. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'd like to call Hoya.
Check. I know I've talked 3 times in my freaking first meeting, but this is actually the reason that I came here. Again, my name is Poya. I live off of 4th and Middlefield. I actually just want to give everybody a visualization of what we go through living in that neighborhood. So I wake up every morning, I take my wife to work, and basically I live off 4th and Middlefield, and I have to turn left to go towards 5th. And I know during rush hour, it's busy and cars slow down. But let me just give you an illustration. What I have to do in order for me to turn left, and I think someone said they're on the train track, I literally have to slowly go forward with my car to slow down traffic, right? To slow down traffic so I can turn left. And before I do that, because I'm somewhat nice, I actually allow the other person to go left-hand side, because otherwise they don't have a way to turn left, right? And someone said, well, we don't want to slow down the traffic. I call BS, because that's a death trap if we don't do something. And I actually think you guys have to do it on 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, because neither of us can turn left or right, right? And worse yet, when there's no rush hour. So at nighttime, after a 12-hour shift, both my wife and I have to go pick her up. Cars treat that place like a fucking freeway. Excuse my language, it's like a freeway. Cars literally go 40, 50 miles an hour, right? And on 4th, the worst part is there's a liquor store. And I can't tell you how often those cars drive so fast off the liquor store, you think you're about to hit something. I don't know how else we can't prioritize the safety. I don't think you need to study. You're honestly, you're one death away from something catastrophic happening. The last thing I'll just say with the time I have, we've talked about businesses. The issue now with that street, it's a one-way street. So what ends up happening sometimes is people go so fast, and in a sudden stop, they hit their brakes, to park in a parallel way, right? And I actually think by adding these stop signs, you're slowing down traffic. So accidentally someone's not on their phone and they don't hit each other. So I think there's 4 or 5 people that have talked about stop signs, and some said this street. I think you have to do it on every street, because otherwise you can't turn right or left. And God forbid during rush hour, honestly, during the school years, those are my worst months. The summer months, you know who likes it more than me? Because it allows me to slow down traffic and be able to turn left and right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments? Anything?
I think you're good.
Okay, so I think it needs to be report outs. You want to start? Oh, okay. Nothing major on my end to report out. We are pushing. Oh, still can't hear me. We are trying to get more attention to the neighborhood, so we're pushing internally to try to have some events in the parking lot, potentially a car show coming up, and so all that is in the works to try to bring some attention to the businesses in the neighborhood. So we are working on dates, we're working on details, nothing confirmed, but that's been in the motion on the back end to try to get some more business and attention. That's what I have on my end.
And Vice Chair, I think it's county executive report first.
I was way off. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think it's county executive's report first, and then. Emma, do you have a report?
You know, the thing I have a report out, I believe, Ever may report out as well. And it's about the community meeting that, and all the work that's been done with the collaborative with partners regarding those that were impacted by the Middlefield Road fire. I won't speak too much about it, but there was a strong collaboration with this was a multi, partners coming together to really have one cause and really help and try to strengthen and provide those resources available, not only working with Mercy, but also county, city, and nonprofits coming together. It was very powerful to see that happen. And so I'll let, I'm sure Ever will also speak to that. In addition to that, I think that we just finished, the other report out is the county just finished our budget hearings earlier this week, as well as allocations for Measure K were announced as well. And so I think we're in Middlefield Road project is, as you guys, we've heard a lot of the feedback, but we have a drone and it looks quite beautiful. And we're able to present that in the near future through the NFOCC.
Thank you.
Hey, Emma, quick question. We have an update from PG&E as far as progress of them pulling their lines through. Has that work begun? And if so, how far along are they?
Well, we know that the project just came to a conclusion, and they're still doing punch list items, so it's not completely done. And so until that punch list items are done, we did estimate somewhere between, and I think we've shared that with the council before, somewhere between 12 to 18 months at the conclusion of the project. So we're still pretty far out because you have to do all the different utilities come out, like the different agencies, and they do one, start doing one at a time, and the PG&E would be the last one.
So, I thought PG&E went first, but they won't start until the punch list items are done. Is that correct?
Right, correct. The punch list items, and I'm not, and please don't quote me on the order. I'm not the expert on that, but I do know all in all, it takes about 12 to 18 months expected before the polls will come down.
Okay, thank you.
I think next is the District 4 report.
Hi, everyone. Connie here. Sorry I wasn't able to attend in person. I do have a couple report out for the district. Emma talked about it, but Spicer did attend that second community meeting for the Middlefield Junction fire for residents from Pacific to 2nd Ave. We are also gonna start the sheriff oversight. Their first meeting will be on Tuesday, July 16th at the County Government Center in Redwood City from 6 to 8. We do have a fireworks buyback event through the sheriff's office this Saturday, June 29th, from 10 to 2 at 690 Broadway Street in Redwood City. This is also a reminder that all fireworks are illegal in San Mateo County. The next item is we did start the nominations through the San Mateo County Veterans Commission as it's celebrating its 9th annual Veterans Recognition Luncheon, and it's seeking nominations for Veteran of the Year, Patriot of the Year, and Enterprise of the Year. The event will be held in person on Friday, November 8th. I can share a website out to you all if you want to nominate somebody for this. Emma also spoke about it, but our Measure K for children, family, and seniors did come out, and they did approve the budget for 2024-2025. As George mentioned today, we did get a resignation from Mariela for the council, and we will start opening recruitment for the vacancy. And the last item that I have is our newsletter is out, so please sign up for it or reach out if you want to take a look at that, and that way you can stay up to date with what's going on in the district. Thank you.
Thank you. Council members.
Want to go again?
Oh, I think I've already said it. It's gonna be redundant. You want?
Sure, I can go next. A couple of things. We had a meeting with, organized by North Oaks Community Alliance and Climate Ready Communities regarding the safety element, which is this effort to renew every 8 years a county plan for preparedness and emergencies against disasters. And so mainly this is to create public meetings where people can come and learn about the challenges that can present with disasters and how to be prepared, but also provide feedback to renew that that plan according to what the residents see in their surroundings. And so there will be a series of several meetings all over the place around county, and this was one of the meetings that pertained to North Oaks. And then the other one was just to mention what Emma and Connie already mentioned about, a couple of public meetings that we had. One was specific. Those meetings were related to the Mercy Housing fire that affected the residents who live from Pacific Avenue to Second Avenue, as the area was identified by the builder. And so the meetings, the first one was specific for the residents of Pacific Avenue who were the most affected. And then the second and largest meeting took place this Tuesday right here. It was very well attended, and there were excellent resources. We brought the fire department, Menlo Park Fire Department, to give an update about the investigation undergoing for the fire. They haven't finished yet, but we'll hear about it once they complete the report and investigation. There was also representatives from the constructor and the construction company and the insurance company, potentially to talk and provide options about possible cases, claims that people may have as they were affected. There were also representatives from Mercy Housing talking about the future plans of the construction. There was a lot of good efforts to do canvassing in the days before that. There were about between 15 and 20 volunteers from various organizations. Caron participated, Enfoca participated, and the Fair Oaks Community Center, they also participated and were key in organizing and hosting those meetings. Also Community Affairs also participated, and a few others that escaped my mind, but mainly the interest was to tell the residents, to convey the message to the residents who were affected that that we as neighbors and organizations working here, that we care about them and we support their recovery, you know, at whatever level they may be. So there were great resources, and so hopefully they get all the information that they needed, and they got contact numbers for pretty much anything that they need as related to the insurance claims or the fire department or community resources. So yeah, that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brief tonight, I attended the community meeting as well with regard to the fire, and all I have to add is I was just super impressed as to the number of agencies that were there and the thought that went into the agenda. I'm hoping that everybody that attended that meeting came away from it feeling that, you know, basically the community, the county has their back, and they're gonna take care of them through this thing. So hats off to anybody and everybody who had something to do with that meeting. I also wanted to thank Connie online tonight for the social media that she's been doing for Supervisor Slocum. It's just fabulous that there's so much attention being paid to North Fair Oaks. And yeah, just to keep us in mind, maybe posting agendas and meeting notices and things like that. But you're doing a super job just broadening the reach and making people aware of what's going on in his office. So thank you.
Can I comment to that?
Sure.
I just want to say thanks, and I would also welcome you guys to send it over anything that you guys would like to add in terms of like events or outreach. That would also be very helpful just to get the community aware. Also spreading the word that we are active on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. That way people also know that they can go to those channels for information. Thank you.
Thank you, Connie.
I just want to thank everyone for coming out in the audience today. And we always have at least one opening on the council. So any of you are interested, there's usually a youth position or an alternate available. And I think with that, there's definitely like one full voting member. So you don't have to worry about it as far as whether, well, whatever. I just highly encourage you to consider volunteering and to be of service. And it's uncomfortable sometimes when a lot of people are, you know, coming and talking to us and it feels like we can't do anything. But that's how you get things done. You make some noise and the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And this is democracy in action. So keep it up. And I'm sad that we didn't do the cleanup day, but I understand with the Middlefield fire, we had to put it off. Hopefully next summer we can bring that back. And that's all I got.
Thank you.
Come on.
There you go. Anything else? Anything else? Anyone else? Is it?
No, it's not.
Just not close enough. I'm normally pretty loud. Well, then I entertain a motion that we adjourn.
So move.
I second.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Next meeting is a study session in, what, third week of
Morning of August.
July.